Hello, this is Eileen, the environmental educator. And in this video, we're going to talk about something kind of interesting and fun, and that mysterious streaks of light over California is actually an old space station antenna meeting its doom. And this is at space.com 16 hours ago. This is March 22nd, 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time. So yeah, this was a March 20th article from the Smithsonian. Burning space junk creates mysterious lights in the California sky, and the Los Angeles Times covered it. It rained fire in the California sky, and this is the BBC showed the video. This is another local news station, another local news station. It's these first three articles that have the most amount of information. But here's a picture of what people saw. They saw it over the Sacramento area Friday night. And here's a video that was caught.
What is that?
So yeah, you get the gist of it. Said that it lasted about 40 seconds in the night sky, and it happened on St. Patrick's night. So I'm sure that some people were wondering if they were seeing something in the sky. So yeah, it was about 9:30 at night. It lasted about 40 seconds. And the King Kong Brewing Company, the owner, put it out on Instagram, where an astronomer and astrophysicist at the Harvard Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics and a verified member of the Orbital Police, Jonathan McDowell, who is known for solving these types of orbital enigmas, was able to quickly classify the culprit. And as it turns out, it's part of an antenna. Yeah, that was used in the space station, and the space station discarded in 2020. So, designated the IES-EF, it's 683 pounds. A retired component was responsible for enabling communications between the International Space Station, Kibo Module, and Mission Control. It launched in 2009 and was jettisoned from the space station into a decaying orbit in 2020. So yeah, they just threw it out like they throw out a lot of things. That's why NASA and the Defense Department tracked up to 27,000 known pieces of space debris. Yeah, that are out there. And they monitor these for launches and just even for the space shuttle, which one of these articles says, they just had right here, on March 6th, the space station had to execute a maneuver to avoid a potential collision with one of a number of satellites whose decaying orbits are beginning to encroach on the space station's flight path. So yeah, there's a lot of debris out there, and that's shown right here in this Smithsonian article. It says that, let's see if we can get some of these ads out. It says that the computer-generated image shows objects in Earth's orbit. The majority, around 95%, are bits of space junk. So yeah, 27,000 things they track. Because even astronauts going out on a spacewalk, if this space junk can be anything from the size of a bus to the size of a small piece of metal, but that small piece of metal can cut an astronaut's cord if they're out doing a spacewalk. You know what I mean? At the speed that these travel to, and the space station travels, it can shatter windows. It could do any one of these objects that's out there in space could do a lot of problems. So what that astrophysicist Jonathan McDowell said is what you're seeing is some actually very small objects releasing a lot of energy very high up, traveling extremely fast. And he said, yeah, the communication equipment consisted of a 683-pound antenna called the Inner Orbit Communication Systems Exposed Facility. And since the space station threw it overboard, essentially out into the ocean of space, the equipment has been in orbit since 2020. It's been circling over Earth ever since until its orbit got small enough that it re-entered the atmosphere and started to break apart while traveling at roughly 17,000 miles per hour. This happens fairly frequently. However, humans may not always notice because re-entry often occurs over the oceans, McDowell said. And here is that Jonathan McDowell, and he says it was categorized as object 45265, 1988-067 RJ. It orbited the Earth as space junk for over 3 years and re-entered at 0430 UTC 9:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time over California and was widely observed over the Sacramento area. And he says that he thinks some of this ended up in Yosemite. In this case, the flaming space junk came back to Earth in what's known as an uncontrolled re-entry, meaning that the burned up bits of equipment landed randomly. These specific pieces are thought to have touched down somewhere around Yosemite National Park, where they'll likely blend in with other non-space litter. He's guessing that somewhere in the Yosemite area, there might be a few melted, mangled pieces of Japanese space equipment littering the ground. And it says here, what I just said, though it doesn't always put on such a dazzling show, space junk is increasingly becoming a problem. Trillions of pieces of orbital debris are traveling at high speed in Earth's vicinity, and the overall amount of space junk is growing, according to NASA. Though much of this junk is tiny, it is moving so fast that it can damage a spacecraft or satellite on impact. Even tiny paint flecks can damage a spacecraft when traveling at these velocities, according to NASA. And they say that space junk includes abandoned launch vehicles, defunct spacecraft, debris from various missions, and dead satellites. When these items collide, they break down into even smaller fragments of debris that are more difficult to track. And it says that several organizations, including the Department of Defense, track the space debris to keep an eye out for any potentially dangerous collisions, which can be any collision if a paint fleck can cause damage, and it can cause a lot of damage at the velocity that these things are moving in. And this Los Angeles Times article says that more than 200 pieces of space junk re-enter the atmosphere every year, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, though many completely burn up and disintegrate upon re-entry, and the majority fall into the ocean unseen. Every day, the Space Force is tracking over 20,000 pieces in orbit around Earth. And he noted about 7,000 of those are working satellites. This object is just one of those 20,000 that happened to be entered this weekend, and it happened to be entered at a time and a place when it was seen by a lot of people. And he put out this picture here. He said that this is the communications package that entered. So that must be a part of this here, because it says that, this is at the bottom right of the image. This here must be this here somehow. So yeah, that and re-entered Earth's atmosphere, and it put on a little show. So there we go. Just one more little view of the show there, and this just lighting up the night sky. So this space trash goes on every day. It's tracked every day, and then on a very rare occasion, it rains fire in the sky. So stay tuned, people.